Good afternoon, guys. I want to welcome you all to our first live stream here on YouTube. I know as we kind of get going, more of you guys will kind of jump in, so I do want to welcome all of you. Thank you for tuning in. We're here to talk about something that really kind of comes up a lot on all social channels. You know, everyone sees it. You see this guy rolling down the road, you see him at a car show, and the car just sounds rowdy. You just hear it rolling down the road, bop, 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 bop. You just hear that cam chopping away at that LS3 or that LT1, LT4, LSA. We can kind of go on, the LS7, all those great Camaro engines that are in there. For you SS guys, you Z28, you LSI, all you guys, okay? There's a cam selection out there for really any combination. Custom spec cams are available. There's, you know, shelf cams that are available. All this stuff really kind of goes along with making more power, right? And everyone likes to roll up to a car show. You like to hear that car, just jump in and you just hear it chopping. You're just chopping away and you hear it going and you're just, you know what, I want that. Well, what's it gonna take, right? Okay, well, as you guys might have seen, if you haven't been to the website lately, go check it out. We recently started selling the Cam Motion cams, which is a great product offering, great manufacturer we've been dealing with so far lately, and they've really kind of, they're coming up and up with their cam profiles and everything that are creating a lot of very good power. Now, we have the 5th gen stuff listed already, and so they have an NA cam, which is typically your stage 1, your Titan or something like that. That's their name that they use for their camshafts. Then they roll into their centrifugal and positive displacement supercharger cams. So some of you guys that might have a Whipple on place, you can have a cam profile selected for you that works out great. Some of you guys that have a Pro Charger in place, there's a profile also available for you guys as well from Cam Motion. Now, what do I have here, right? You look at this table and you see a whole bunch of stuff laid out. What's going on, right? So we got our shop 2010 that we have sitting back here that we're fixing to put a cam in. We haven't really decided what route we're going to go, but we know we're going to put one in there. And it might be this one sitting right here. Who knows? So what I wanted to show you guys is what it takes really to put a cam in one of these LS3s or L99s, okay? Since we have all the 5th gen stuff listed, and I know we've been getting calls and messages for you 6th gen guys, and don't worry, that stuff's coming too. And really a lot of it plays into the same way, the same stuff goes along. Well, not the same components, but the same style of components go along with the LT1s and the LT4s. So right now we're going to kind of cover the LS engine, okay? Now that goes for you LS3, you L99, and you LSA guys, okay? I have everything kind of laid out. Honestly, I might be missing a bolt or two. But I have everything laid out so that way you can kind of get a good idea of what it takes to put a cam in your Camaro. Okay, we got, like I said, we got the 2010 sitting back here. So what's going to take to put a cam in this car, right? You got one sitting in your garage, you got a 1415 sitting in your garage, and you want to know what it takes to put a cam in there. Okay, now here's the stock cam. Okay, stock profile. This one came out of a 2010 also. Okay, we had kind of had lying around the shop. I had to kind of dust it off a little bit. It's been a little while since we've taken it off the shelf. But it's the stock profiles, and you can see it's obviously got a few miles on it. You can see the kind of wear marks. It's got a little surface rust there just from sitting on the shelf. That's what happens when it's unbagged or anything like that. Like I said, we just had it sitting there. Okay, and this is the single bolt design. Okay, so you L99 and you LS3 guys, you're going to have the single bolt design from the factory cam. Okay, now single bolt design, what do you mean by that, Ricardo? Well, the single bolt design is essentially different from the aftermarket cams because the aftermarket cams are typically a 3-bolt design. As you can see here, this one's got the 3 different provisions where these bolts right here are just going to go right in place to hold the timing gear. Okay, this timing gear right here has the 3 bolts, 3 provisions. That 4th one you see right there, that 4th one, that's to line it up. That's kind of what lets us know exactly where the cam profile is, so that way it's all designed and everything lines up with your timing marks and really kind of goes from there. So that's the difference you're going to see in cams initially when you're looking at them right off the bat. You're going to notice that a lot of them are not the single bolt design. They're the 3-bolt design. This is a conventional design that they've been doing for a good 20 years, okay? So they've been doing it this way and it's been working out great. Some of you guys that are thinking, well, I want the single bolt design, I want to kind of reuse the phaser going into your automatic guys. Well, you can do that, and those are variable valve timing cams. Now those cams unfortunately just don't produce enough power for, in our opinion, to really kind of make it worth the whole cam swap. Just because there's a lot of other factors that go into it. You got to make sure the phaser's back in place. You got to make sure all that stuff lines up, the timing, everything. There's a lot that really kind of goes into it that if you just took it into an L99 kit, converted it over to an LS3, you can probably eliminate most of that stuff. Okay, so the new cams are 3-bolt design. Okay, so the 3-bolt design is typically for the LS3 guys. You LS3 guys, like what I have here, LS3. It's very simple, very easy to do a cam swap in those cars. Really a weekend job. Realistically, if you haven't done it before, you're probably looking at about 10, 12 hours of work, labor on a weekend. If you've done it before, you know a guy, you have a buddy that can help you out, know exactly how to line you up and everything. Realistically, you're probably on the 6 to 8 hour mark. You know, I know I've done cam swaps, you know, on the weekends, and it's, you know, a few hours, not a big deal, right? But I've done it before. So what does it take to do a cam swap in an LS3? Okay, now LS3s, like I said before, they're very simple, very easy. Obviously, the main component is being the cam. Now you can have your own selection of cam. There's the Stage 1, the Stage 2, the Titan King from Cam Motion that are all work out great, but it depends on how much power you're looking to make. Obviously, the more aggressive cam you have, the potentially more power that you could make, along with the different combinations that you guys go with as far as intake manifold, exhaust, your headers, your intake, your cold air intake itself, your throttle body. Sometimes all that kind of plays a factor into the cam selection. But what are the key components you need? Let's say you already have the headers, you already have the intake manifold, you already have a cold air intake. You have that stuff, but you don't have the cam. Okay, hey, not a problem. Very simple, you already got a good baseline right there. So very simple, on an LS3, simple components that you're gonna need are obviously the cam, okay? A good cam install kit. A lot of cam install kits come with a lot of these parts that you see right here. Okay, a cam install kit will typically consist of your timing gear, because you will need a new timing gear, okay? Because we're going from the single bolt to the 3-bolt. So you will need a new timing gear. Obviously the bolts that go along with it, so that way you can bolt that timing gear to the cam. Okay, and a good install kit will come with a new crank seal, a new harmonic balancer bolt, because these bolts right here are torque to yield. So once you take it off and you replace it, or you're doing the cam, you zip it off with your air impact, and you're gonna have to replace it with a brand new one. So our kits consist of a new crank seal, crank bolt, crank seal. Now why do I need a new crank seal? Well, I'm gonna pull this over here, just to show you guys an example. You got your timing cover here, okay? You have your seal and everything, your crank sits on there, it presses through, but once you pull that crank off and you try and push it back on, you can potentially cut the seal that's in here. You could potentially cut that. So it's a simple, you know, a couple dollars for this seal additional, that's all you need, and you can replace it, put it back in place, put the balancer back on it, and it creates a fresh new seal. Taking the old one, you might, like I said, if you got a high mileage, you might rip it. So that's the only reason that a crank seal comes into place. So because the last thing you want to do is put all this stuff in the car, get it all going, and then you find out you have an oil leak a couple hundred miles down the road. All because of this seal. So you have that, your bolt, timing gear, your crank seal, and probably one of the most important is probably the water pump. Okay, your water pump gaskets. Why do I need to replace my water pump gaskets? Well, when you pull the timing cover off, your water pump has to come off first. So it's always good to replace these gaskets just to make sure that you're not going to have any water leaks, you're not going to have anything like that dripping down, and obviously causing more problems, more headaches, creating you to do the work all over again. So there's those also. Now moving on to what else do I need, right? Okay, well, what else are you going to need? You're going to need some valve springs. A lot of guys might think, hey, my factory valve springs are going to be fine. Man, not with an aftermarket cam, especially not on a cam that's going to have like a 118, a 116, a 114 profile. Those cams are going to hit pretty hard. Okay, so a dual valve spring, a dual spring spring setup is going to essentially be replace your factory ones. It's going to have the dual springs here that you see. Okay, it's going to have the keepers and the locks and the new seals. Okay. Now it's going to have all these key components that are going to replace all your factory pieces. Okay, now you're going to want to replace all this stuff just because the factory ones, like we said, the factory springs, they're not meant for these high lift cams. So they can potentially break that spring. That spring breaks while you're going, 3,000 to 4,000 RPMs, it could be catastrophic. So the last thing you want to do is have a spring break and then send something through the motor, right? That's the last thing I would want to happen. So these springs right here, you can go with the steel setup or you can go with the titanium setup. Titanium setup, that is typically if you're running the car through high RPMs. The titaniums, if you're running through high RPMs, say let's go circle track. It's kind of the best reference I can probably think of. If you're going through those high RPMs, the titanium is going to work a little better. But the downfall of the titanium is that you might have to replace it sooner than you would have to steel. Now you're still going to get a lot of mileage out of these. Don't get me wrong. You're still going to get a lot of mileage out of these, and they work out very well. But eventually the titanium might wear out, and you might have to replace them. So it's something to think about also while you're planning all this through your head. Now these spring kits are going to come with a new spring for your intake and exhaust valves, new keepers, new locks, new everything, new seals. All that stuff comes with the spring kit, so that way you can take your factory springs and replace it with these double springs here. So that stuff works out really well. Now, that's for an LS3 setup. LS3 setup, LSA setup. You ZL1 guys, y'all are going to need similar components to this as well. The only thing about the ZL1, the crank bolt's just a little different. Other than that, most of these components are going to fit and work with the LS3 or the LSA. So keep that in mind, guys. Okay? So now, to you automatic guys. Oh, well, one more thing I want to kind of cover is that sometimes we get these questions, am I going to need to replace my clutch? Am I going to need to replace this or that? You shouldn't have to. If your clutch and everything is working out fine, I'll be honest, you might run through it a little faster than you normally would on a stock cam. Only because you're going to enjoy that cam a whole lot more. You're going to enjoy the power that you're going to end up making a whole lot more. So that clutch might wear down a little faster just because of the burnouts we're going to do. Now we're going to do them safely, right? We're going to do them on the track. We're not doing them anywhere crazy. But no, we want to see, if you've been to the track now on your LS3, fairly stock car might run a low 13, high 12, we'll call it. After a cam and everything like that, you could be the low to high 11s. I mean, so high 11s, low 12s. Okay, depends on your setup. There's a whole lot of setups that you can do, and then you play a factor in what your suspension look like, what your tires look like, so there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that, right? But LS3, that's what you're looking to make. Now, power ranges. How much power am I going to make? That's one of the big questions too, right? Stage 1 is typically a milder cam. That's for the guys that you kind of want a daily driver. It's my daily driver, but I do want a cam anyways. Those are typically about a 118 LSA. So you want to kind of keep those, and those are going to be a little milder. Those are going to be very nice street characteristics. Okay, so those you are going to want to be, you're going to be probably about a 30 horsepower pickup over factory, obviously depending on the combination. Okay, so hopefully you got everything set up and you're already ready to make good power. Now you step up to like the Titan or the Titan King. That's when you're going to step up into the 50 to 60 horsepower jump over factory. Okay, the only reason you're going to make that big old jump is because of the aggressiveness of the cam and how aggressive it is. So you're on a 114 LSA, so it really just depends on the cam selection that you go with. And there's a whole combination that really kind of dials everything in if you really want to get specific on it. What I would suggest, maybe talking to your tuner. He might have a suggestion just to know your combination, what you're looking for, and then obviously we can probably set you up with a nice cam that will work for you guys. Okay? Now that's an LS3 and a little bit about the LS9 and the different cam profiles and how aggressive they are. So rolling over to you automatic guys. Okay, rolling over to you automatic guys, you guys are obviously going to need a few more components to get this cam swap and everything dialed in. Why? Because it's an automatic transmission. Automatic transmissions obviously have the DOD or the AFM. Okay, so however you want to reference it, it's either one of those. AFM is the active fuel management. DOD is the displacement on demand. Either way, what those are is actually, I'm going to take a lifter and I'm going to show it to you here. Now those DOD lifters and those they're slightly larger than this lifter here. only because it's got the extra gapping that it essentially turns it on and off with the active fuel management. Okay, so what do we need to do to convert my L99 to an LS3? Okay, what you need to do is you're going to need everything that goes along with the same LS3 cam install kit. You're going to need the water pumps, the timing gear, all that stuff. But we have a kit. It's our L99 to LS3 conversion kit. It comes with all this right here. It comes with all of it. Okay, and then it comes with everything else that you'll need to convert it over to make your L99 an LS3. Okay, while still retaining your automatic transmission, obviously. Now, automatic guys, you're still going to need the valve springs. So earlier when we talked about the valve springs, the keepers and everything there, you are still going to need all this. All this is still needed no matter what cam you really kind of go with. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. Now, moving over to the automatic guys. What am I going to need? Ricardo, I already got the cam. I know which one I want to get. I got the valve springs like you said, but it's just not lining up. Maybe so what else do I need? Wow, okay. So here we go. Here's where it gets a little complicated, but not to worry. I'm going to explain it, okay? I'm going to explain it all to you. Now, the L99, as we said a little while ago, has the DOD and the AFM, or AFM, however you want to reference it, sorry. Basically, essentially what that is that that's your displacement on the mag. It has to do with the lifters and a little bit about the cam and the cam phaser. Okay, the cam phaser sits behind the timing gear right here. So it's essentially right here. If you look at your timing gear on an L99, you'll see that it's a little shaped a little different as compared to this LS3 one right here. But not to worry, like I said, not to worry. The kit we have is the L99 to LS3 conversion kit. Now it comes with everything you're gonna need, okay? And like we said, it already comes with the timing gear, your bolts, your seal, your water pump gaskets, your crank bolt, comes with all that stuff, okay? So take that and add it on top of what you see here in front of me. Now what you see here in front of me, I'm gonna go over some of the smaller things that really don't need much explanation, okay? But the smaller things are your head gaskets. Okay, now why do I need head gaskets for an L99 conversion? Well, you need the head gaskets because you're gonna have to physically remove the cylinder heads to install some of these other components that sit below the cylinder heads that you just can't get to in the valley. Okay, so you're gonna have to install all that stuff so that way it can convert everything over from the L99 to the LS3, unlocking the potential power of this new cam that you're putting into your car. Because like we said, the VVT cams, they're great and they work out fine, but there's just so much more potential power that you can make on top of that with just a simple installation kit. That's it. Your exhaust manifold gaskets. Why do I need that? Well, you're pulling the cylinder heads off, so your manifolds or your headers are going to come off. Now, these will work. These are we use factory OEM stuff right here. So this is all GM gaskets. It's all GM components. So all this stuff is going to fit perfectly and work just right. We've been using it for years. We've never had a single problem out of this stuff. So it works out great for us. So your exhaust gaskets, these are also going to be replaced. Okay, there is a front side and back side. So they do tell you exactly what side's down and what side's outside. So those are also going to be replaced. These works with your headers, whatever header setup, whether you have Cooks, you have American Racing, you have Stainless Works, whatever header setup you have, these gaskets will go right back in place, getting you a good seal on those. Okay, so there's our head gaskets and our exhaust gaskets. Okay, so moving on, we're going to have a timing cover gasket. Okay, now why do I need a timing cover gasket? Well, because we're going to send you out a new timing cover itself completely. As I said a little while ago, the L99 timing cover is a little different from the LS3. So it is going to be a little shaped different. There are some sensors and wiring that is a little bit different that goes along with it because you don't have the extra components, extra wires that are there for the L99 or the LS3. So you're going to get that, get the gasket. Obviously the new seal we also sent. You're just going to put that right back into place. It's going to go fit right in your new gasket for the back, just in case when you're pulling the timing cover off, you ruin the gasket itself. We send you out a new one, whole new setup. Okay. Now we said we're pulling the cylinder heads off, right? Well, remember we said we got crank bolt, torque to yield. Okay, cylinder heads are the same way, guys. Cylinder head bolts are the same way as being torque to yield. What is torque to yield? Well, there's a certain specification that you have to torque down these cylinder head bolts to. Once you torque those cylinder head bolts down, it's one-time use, unfortunately. Right? I'd love to have extra bolts just lying around and always kind of reuse them, right? So, but those are unfortunately going to be torque to yield, so we send you enough bolts for both cylinder heads. Now you can go also go with the setup of ARP. You can go with head studs. You can also go that route if you want, and that's if you plan on making big boost, big power, or something like that. Then you really want a good set of head studs. But if we're just sticking NA, we're not adding any boost or anything like that. A good, the factory head bolts work out just fine and great for us. We'd also send you a new cam sensor. This new cam sensor is going to go back onto the new timing gear cover that we have, along with the harness that we send out and everything to make it, because the L99, I believe, is a different plug as compared to the LS3, and as we just have it all talk to each other. This is all going to bolt right up to this location here. It's going to bolt right down. We supply you with the bolts to replace it here, supply you with the bolts to replace it there. Not a problem. We have that all dialed in. So that's what we got as far as the front half and the top half of the cylinder heads are concerned. How about the center? Well, the center is going to get a new valley cover. Okay, this is the LS3 valley cover as compared to the L99 valley cover. It's got the seals and everything that we need to fill the spots, so that way when the DOD is inactive, it's not shooting the oil where it thinks it should be. It's not shooting the oil where it thinks it should be. It go ahead and swaps it out and sends it another direction, so that way it acts like the LS3 and not the L99. So there is a new cover, completely different. Now your factory sensor that sits back here on the back, that's just going to go right back into the same location. Okay, your factory L99 and LS3 have the same sensor that go back here, so you're just going to put the factory one back in place. It's got the provision here for your vent tube, so all that stuff is going to go right back on. Now what sits under here and under the heads that makes you replace all that stuff, right? Well, it's going to be these buckets right here. These are our lifter buckets, okay? Now as you can see here, I have these two lifters put in place here. Now your factory L99 are going to have a similar style bucket. Okay, but it's not going to have the same provisions as you see here. See how these all kind of look uniform, look the same? The L99 is going to look a little different because of the different lifters that it has. So in the kit that we have, we convert everything over to an LS3. So we take the LS3 lifters, we take the LS3 buckets, and we put it all together, and then that's it. That's it. Once we have everything in place, we have everything bolted down. I got this lifter there, I got that lifter there. I put it right back into the cylinder head, right back where it should go. I bolt it down using the factory bolt that we took off, bolt that down, get everything put back together, get my tuner, drop a tune in it, and then fire the car up so that way everything runs perfectly, right? Well, then there's the other components that kind of go into a torque converter. How aggressive of a cam did you get? On an L99 automatic transmission, and this goes for any automatic transmission, the more aggressive of a cam you go with, the larger torque converter that you're going to need. A factory torque converter, unfortunately, might not be the best one for the cam that you went with, unfortunately. So it's also something to think about, that you might have to change out that torque converter. So if you go with like a Titan or a Titan King, you go with the Titan, I want the biggest, baddest camshaft they got, right? In an automatic transmission, you're going to need probably about a 3400 to a 3600 stall converter. Now you can go with either one, whether it's Yank or Circle D. Either way, we have those options available for you guys as well. Okay, so that's what it takes to really kind of get a cam set up for the Camaro. Now, once you have everything done, you got everything in, like we said, we got your tuner, drop the tune in it, you fire it up, or you even fire it up without the tune. I've done that before too, okay? You're not going to damage anything on an L99. Okay, don't worry. You're not going to damage anything. It's not going to run right. Okay, I'll be honest. It's not going to run right. It's going to sound like something's broken when realistically everything should be just fine as long as you got everything dialed in, you got everything torqued down to the correct torque specs, you got everything put in place, you got your lifters, your springs, your push rods, all that stuff is all back lined up perfectly. You got your timing set, everything's done. The car should fire up, no problems. Like I said, an L99 is going to run a little rough because it is going to want to see that DOD action, that it's not there anymore. So it is going to sound a little off. But once your tuner adjusts that, turns the DOD off, resets everything, the car should fire up and sound just like any LS3. Now you got an LS3, right? You did the install in your garage. You want to fire it up and make sure everything's good. Go for it, man. I would not suggest revving the car, getting crazy with it as soon as you do it, because the first thing you want to do is actually get that car tuned properly so that way nothing happens to the car. Everything might fire up and it's going to be able to idle, so you can check for leaks, you can make sure your coolant's topped off, you can do all that and get all that dialed in. But do get to a tuner as soon as you get that cam in, because you want to make sure that that cam's going to run right with your car. You don't want to damage anything any further than that. That's the last thing you want to do. So let's see here. That's what I have for you guys. That's what I have for you. That's what you need to put a cam in your Camaro. Okay, LS3, quick run through. LS3, you're going to need springs, an install kit. Obviously, the springs are going to come with the new seals, the keepers, and everything you need for the valve springs. Your install kit should come with at least a timing gear. I do suggest the crank seal. I do suggest this. The water pump gaskets, new crank bolt, new bolts for that timing gear, so that can go right back in place. So LS3 guys, y'all got it a little easy. Let's admit it. Y'all got it a little easy with this cam swap. L99 guys, you're gonna need all this stuff too. You're gonna need all this stuff too. And you're gonna need all this stuff. It's our suggestion. Why? Because it's tried and true. We've been using this kit. We've had this kit put together for years, and we've done it in a bunch of different cars. Never had one problem out of it. All this stuff, like I said, is factory OEM gaskets. And you know how you can tell it's a factory OEM gasket? Because it's marked. Marked front, and it's marked 6.0, 6.2 liter, because they fit the same style motor. So, and also when you get this stuff, it's all gonna be wrapped in the GM performance packaging. Okay, it's all gonna be wrapped up so you can see it's from Chevrolet. There you go. So that's what it's gonna take, guys. Like we said, automatics, y'all do have the kicker. The larger cam you go with, the bigger stall converter you might need. So it's really something you want to think about if you plan on upgrading your cam, getting something really aggressive. I understand we all want the aggressive cam, right? We all want the aggressive cam, but we also want something that's going to be a little drivable. Okay, you also want something that's going to be a little bit drivable, so that way you can either have your tuner dial it in, or you can make sure that you're dialed in at the racetrack and get everything going from there. You want the optimized power, you want the most you can get out of it. That's what you're going to need, guys. LS3, simple, easy components. L99, you got a little bit more stuff that you got to deal with. But anytime you have a question, guys, you guys know you can reach out to us via our website. We have our email. You can contact us, sales@phastekperformance.com. You can give us a call, 855-742-7835, or you can also send us a message. I know we're here on YouTube, and I want to thank you for tuning in. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and comment down below, and we'll be sure to answer them as best as we can, and as much information as we can also with those replies. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. This is our first one. Hopefully everything works out, and we'll see you guys again.